Welcome back to another semester of Hebrew, students. Talmidim. I am excited for the semester. I'm really thankful for a good first class. So I want to just do a little more review and hopefully shake off some of that rust. So just one thing to note is that at the course homepage, I have uploaded under the files a folder called Other Handouts, and I have thrown a bunch of stuff in there that I probably won't hand out, but it's stuff I handed out last semester with regard to some of the verb charts. So I put them all in there. So this would be an example of the individual verb charts. So you can see this. I know that was requested. So all that should be available along with the verb grammar, which is this sheet. It just tells you about the different verbal usages and things like that. And we'll be working off of this a little bit for our review. So all of that should be in the Populi under files. You should be able to see the folder for that. Okay, so let's jump in and talk about reviewing for verbs. Okay, so when you come across a verb, so I have a sheet here of a bunch of different verbs that we could parse. So when you come across a verb, the first thing you look at is whether it has something at the beginning or something at the end, prefixes and suffixes. The goal is to look and see whether or not it's perfect or imperfect. That's really what we're trying to look for. And so the way you determine that is if it has endings. Go back to our list here of the perfect verbs and imperfect. You'll notice that in the perfect form, and that's whether it's call, PL, pual, etc. It doesn't matter what stem it is. You have all these endings. The exception is the 3ms, but then all the other perfect verbs have endings. And you'll notice that for the perfect, there's nothing on the front. But if you look at the imperfect, it's going to be given away because you have all these prefixes. That's why the imperfect is often called the prefixed conjugation, because it has all of the prefixes there. You also remember the imperative and the participle. The imperative and the participle here. On the left, we have the imperative. Notice that that is only 3 letters and the participle is only 3 letters. So both of these look kind of like the 3ms from above, right here. They all are consonantally the same, but the 3ms perfect is shamar. The imperative down here is shamor, and the participle is shomer. And so those are the ones you need to pay attention to, the difference. So you're looking for the O class in that way. So the thing to remember is when you're determining the verb, first of all, if it looks like a regular verb, you're looking for the indications, the vowel markings as to what it really is. So is this shamar? That's why you need to really be familiar with the perfect and imperfect paradigms. Because if you pronounce this shomer, you immediately know it's the OA vowel pattern. And this would work with any verb. If you had omed, shomer, shomed, you have all of the OA patterns are indicative of a participle. So even though this might look like a perfect at first, you would parse it as a call, active participle, and it is masculine singular, and then you do it from shamar. So that's how we would parse that. We go through same thing when we're looking at the next one, shamar nu. Well, shamar nu, we can recognize the u sound there at the end, nu, and so that is an indication of a perfect verb, a suffix conjugation. And so then we go by sound. Now here's the key that I want to review today, is with the perfect verb, perfect, you go by sound for parsing, and imperfect, you go by colors for parsing. And what I mean by parsing is to evaluate the stem. Or maybe I should spell it colors with our UK, Canadian, everybody else except for the United States way of spelling, essentially. So you go by colors, and if the imperfect. So let's see, I'm going to switch forms here. If you go down here, this is in the A through C right here, what we're talking about. By sound, what I mean is that if you hear the A class, shamar, that's a call. But if you have a ni at the beginning, nishmar, that's a nifal because you hear the ni ah. And then if you have a hifil, it would be hishmir or hishmir. And you would have that being a hifil because of the hi at the beginning. So that's what I mean by sound alike. You go by sound in the basic stem with the perfect. You go by sound, not by sight. But if it's imperfect, then you use this color system right here, and you evaluate the vowel system to be able to know whether it's green, red, green, purple, red, green, whatever. That'll tell you what it is, because it doesn't always sound like it. Sometimes it does. The hit pile always sounds like what it is. So that's nice. You can always evaluate that one pretty easily. You should always get used to saying it because you will start to pick up some patterns. But this is a go-to for parsing the imperfect. If you're reading it, it helps you figure that out. So let's find out something like this. Okay, so let's try out number 5 here. So we have tishacher, and right away, what are we looking for? Beginning and end there. And remember, each here's your question, which you automatically get the answer right because I can't hear you. How many letters go with each verb? 3 is the right answer. Always 3, no more, no less. So here we are looking for the trilateral root, and we identify the 3 letters here. That means that a tavs, yods, alephes, noons, those are typically prefixes for verbs. So we see the tav, that's going to be either a 3fs or a 2ms, but what that tells me here is that it's imperfect. So imperfect, we go by sound or we go by colors? We go by colors. And so we parse this, and we know that it is purple at the beginning. So shava, purple, red, green. What's purple, red, green? That is a PL. So this would be a PL, imperfect, and it would be a 2ms or 3fs. And it would be from shacher, because the tav is the prefix. Let's do number 6 and try that one. So dibarti. All right, so I see the T at the end, shamarti, shamarta, so I know that this is perfect. So I go by sound for the perfect, I-a or I-a, I-a. It's not dabarti, right? It's not dabarti. You have a I at the beginning. Now it's not ni. Ni would be nifal, but I is PL, PL. And so this is also a PL, but it's perfect. And so that's what I mean by going by sound in those instances. Also, every time dabar occurs, it's in the PL, so that's an easy one. So PL perfect 1CS from davar. Whoops, that's a dalet. There you go, whatever. So similar thing in 7 when we're going through that one. We have an O class after the first letter, which is going to be a participle. That's also confirmed by the noun ending, im. So im, ot, ah, et, those are all participle endings. And so this is the same parsing as the first participle, except it's active masculine plural from shamar. All right, let's see if we can crack out some other ones. Okay, number 9. So number 9, there are 5 letters. We're looking for 3, right? Is there anything at the beginning, anything at the end? Well, a lamed can't be an ending, so we know for sure that there's nothing at the end. So that just leaves us with these 2. And so the vav, pretty typical, you cross that off. And then so the tav is going to be where we start the color system. You don't start it under the tav. You start it under the prefix of the verb, not under the tav. So you run through the color system, which is from the right, red, purple, green. And that's a hifil. So we would say imperfect because it's functioning like that, but with the vav, it's no longer a imperfect, it's a vayiktol. So hifil, vayiktol, and then again, it's a 2ms or 3fs verb, and it's from gadal, which is the verbal form of gadol, to be great. So cause to be great being a hifil. We'll talk more about nuances this semester, what all that means, but this is helpful as we think through these things. All right, so by way of review, just we won't go through anything else now. We'll just cut it off there. But you want to know the process. You gotta remember that check and see if it's a participle or an imperative. That's important. But then you also, when you're trying to determine whether it's a vocatal or perfect, or vayiktol and imperfect, you need to know what you're doing. So if it's perfect or vocatal, you go by sound. Is there a n at the beginning? For example, just number 18 here. Notice that there's a n at the beginning and an ending, so that is going to be nifal. Pretty easily, slam dunk there. And we're going to be watching for those things, the sound alikes for the vocatals and the perfects. On the other hand, for the imperfects and vayiktols, we're going to be going by the color system. Notice here's an imperative with the shava. The shava underneath the first letter is the indicator of the imperative for the call stem. Oops, call stem. So be looking for that, and if it's an imperfect or vayiktol, you go by the color system. Purple, red, green. And the other thing which I assumed but I forgot to say is that if the color system doesn't match at all, then it's a call, and you just put call. So most verbs in the Hebrew Bible are call, but you don't want to miss it when it's not, because that's exegetically significant and there's usually something going on for why it's not in the call. Okay, hope that helps shake some rust off. By the way, you can always look back at the previous videos from last semester and refresh on those things as well. All right, we'll see you on Tuesday, Lord willing.